Page 8, Largo, from Dvorak's New World Symphony. I would encourage you, if you haven't, to go find on Spotify or YouTube or somewhere a recording and listen to this symphony. I think this is the second movement. It's gorgeous. Just listen to it. It's wonderful. I want to talk about a few things. They're introducing at the top of the page ritardando and a tempo. Ritardando means to gradually slow down. Doesn't mean to slow down to a stop. It just means to slow down. A tempo means resume the speed. Tempo is speed in music. Tempo is time or speed. If you look over on page 9, second line, next to the last measure on the second line, you have a RIT, R-I-T period. That is the abbreviation for ritardando. Same thing on the last line next to the last measure is a RIT. That means gradually slow down. It's like a train coming to a stop, except you don't come to a stop, you just slow down. Then if you look at the beginning of the third line, you have the a tempo. That means after you slow down, now you just regular speed again, just take off. Don't gradually speed up, it's just all of a sudden take off. And that's all that means. You'll see it a lot in music. How much you slow down, that's a musical thing. I don't know how much you slow down. Experiment and see what you think. Different people will slow down at different rates, so you decide. I want to talk about each hand just a little bit. Now they're pointing out the musical form here, in case you're wondering what that A, see it's in red letters, A with a line across it, that's not part of the music. That's not part of music notation. Probably why it's in red, huh? They're just pointing out the first two lines of this is one section of the piece, sort of. It's a musical form. It makes a musical statement. And then the second two lines on page 9 is a different statement. The first two lines is like this statement. Okay, then the third line starts out here. It's a different statement. Okay, then if you go over to page 9 at the top, it comes back basically to, you think, the first statement again, but it isn't. It's different. It's still different. So it's a third statement. So let's see. We label these statements or sections in music with letters. We don't need any more numbers. We've got enough of those already. So we're going to use letters. And then finally, the last two lines on page 9, the first statement, section A or the first, comes back. And that's normal. You usually repeat the first one at the end and kind of tie it all up together so it comes back. So you sort of understand how the music is put together. It's kind of fun following it sometimes. Now, for the right hand, now this isn't C major, no sharps or flats unless they add in accidentals, which they did. So you're starting out in C position. That's fine. Until you get to the third line down, now you got to come up here and the third finger on A. That puts you in F position. That's fine. Until you get to the top of page 9, and you have to come back down here to C position. Sort of. Look at the third measure at the top of page 9. Fourth finger on the E. That's so you can play the B. And then for measure 21, which is the last measure of the first line, you see the 21 in the circle? Those are measure numbers. Now, let's talk about the second line on page 9 in the right hand. They're saying you're gonna do the C with third finger, coming from the stuff before it's third finger. And they're saying third finger again, and third finger again. I think that's overloading the third finger. It's unnecessary. Okay, I suggest you do it this way. You start out with third finger, 1, put the 2 on the B, then just bring the thumb down 1. Leave your hand where it is. All you're doing is moving the thumb. And then you're ready for the third finger again. You get that same thing in the third measure. Except for the whole note, they want the little finger on that. And that's okay. and then accidentals. And then you're coming back down. You put the thumb on the E there in the third line, and then little finger. And I do 3-1 for those two notes, but you can do 5-5 if you want. I think 3-5 is more fun, but that's just me. For the left hand, basically you're in a C position starting. Alberti bass pattern, remember that pattern? Very slowly, okay, because it's just quarter notes. And that helps you with your dotted rhythm in the right hand, okay? Second line, second measure, fourth finger on the E, G sharp. And then third measure on the last, that G, put thumb on it. Then you come up to F. You're fine. Till you get to the top of page 9, you go back to C position. Now, in the third measure of the first line on page 9 in the left hand, they're saying a fifth finger on E, third finger, basically you're in E position. So you're starting out in C position, and after you play that G right before it, you just contract your hand up and put a little finger on the E, and that way you're in position for what's coming. Third line, third measure, the A is with the second finger, and then cross the thumb under to get the G, and that puts you in position for what's coming. I don't like that. Last two measures of the second line. 5, 2, 1. And then the last measure, I recommend a 5, 3, 2. Just so I don't have to get the hand up here in the awkward area to put a thumb on a black note. It's unnecessary. We tend to avoid putting a thumb on a black note unless we absolutely have to. Or at least I do. And that should take you through it until you get to the bottom. The last two measures, you're here. They're saying thumb, and that puts you in position. That's fine. But I kind of like this one, where you're starting out with the third finger on the F. And I just second finger, because it's there. And then I do fourth finger on the E. And then you can do a thumb on the G or second finger, either one. Again, they have broken this up into 2-measure phrases. That is, phrases that last 2 measures. So it's here. I have a problem with 2-measure phrases like that. In most cases, I would prefer to combine 2 of them together and make it into phrases that last 4 measures long. Now, there are times when short phrases are appropriate. It's part of the nature of the piece. It helps to bring out certain things in the piece. But this piece is a very smooth, connected, largo, slow thing. Choppiness doesn't fit here. What you can do is listen to the orchestra play it and see if you can figure out how the orchestra is phrasing it, and then come back and phrase it the same way. Let's try this out. Now give us 4 counts. It's 4/4 time. I will play it very, very slowly. Of course, the thing is slow anyway, so we're almost playing it at the speed it should go. I'm not going to do the retardandos. When I'm playing with a metronome, I have to ignore those because the metronome doesn't retardando. So you can do that on your own when you're playing it. I should demonstrate that, I guess. Let's look at page 9. I'm going to go with the last 3 measures of the second line and then the first measure or so of the third line. So you get an idea of the slowing down and then off tempo, in case you're not familiar with it. So we're here. They put in some decrescendo in there too, because the climax of this particular arrangement is the C The whole note C tied to the half note C there at the last two measures of the second line on page 9. It's like the climax of the piece. It's like the loudest part of the whole piece. When you get to the second measure there on the second line, you're loud, but now you're going to crescendo to a very loud. There's not a lot of difference between them, but just know things are getting exciting here. Then soft. So we get a lot of contrast between that loud climax and two measures later, soft again, just like at the beginning. They say medium soft, but that's a range. You gotta feel it, okay? Let's try this out. Hands in C position to start. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. Now there is a duet accompaniment for this at the bottom of the pages, so why don't you play the part you just played, and I'm going to do this duet part. The duet part doesn't have a lot in it, mostly half notes, so you just do your thing and I'll see if I can keep up. So hands in C position, I'll give us 4 counts and we'll begin. 1, 2, ready, go. 3, 4, off.